I never thought I'd end up in a situation like this. Honestly, I thought I knew everything about my wife, Emily. We'd been together for 5 years, engaged for almost a year, and everything seemed perfect, at least on the surface. She's a smart, beautiful woman, a little bitchy at times, but I loved that about her. We made plans, had a good life, and I genuinely thought she was the one. Looking back, I guess there were small signs. She started dressing differently, more provocative, little things like that. Sometimes she'd cancel plans last minute or get weirdly defensive when I asked where she'd been. I shrugged it off as her needing space or her just being stressed with work, but deep down I was starting to feel uneasy. I'd catch her texting late at night, hiding her phone when I walked into the room. I'd see her laugh a little too hard at her phone or quickly lock the screen when I got close. I'd ask her about her day, and she'd brush me off with some bitchy comment or an eye roll, saying I was being paranoid. It wasn't just little things, though. Our intimacy had cooled off. For a while, she'd avoid sex more often than not, claiming she was tired or not in the mood, but I'd catch her looking at her phone after I went to bed. Those nights I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was losing her, but I didn't have proof. I had no concrete evidence, just a gut feeling that something was off. Still, I kept telling myself I was paranoid, that maybe she was just stressed or busy. Then came the night everything changed. I was suddenly hit with a gut punch that I didn't see coming. It started with a weird smell, something spicy, a little different from her usual perfume. I figured she might have been somewhere else or maybe a new perfume she'd bought. But then I noticed her phone sitting on the kitchen table, unlocked, with a message notification blinking. I normally wouldn't check, but something made me pick it up. I wasn't planning to do anything, just curious. What I saw made my stomach drop. There was a text from some guy, Jake. I think his name was, talking about meeting up later, and he called her babe. The message was flirty, even a little suggestive. My heart started pounding. I stared at it, trying to process what I was reading. I couldn't believe it. Emily was cheating on me with my best friend, Jake. I mean, I knew they'd been close, but I never ever thought it would go this far. I felt like my world was shattering. I didn't make a scene that night. Instead, I just sat there, staring at her phone, feeling this mixture of shock, anger, and heartbreak. I wanted to scream, to confront her then and there, but I knew I had to see where this was going first. I needed to know if it was just a one-time thing or something more. So I waited, and the next day I started digging. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept replaying the message I saw on her phone. I hadn't slept well. I kept thinking about what it all meant, how long this had been going on, how many times she'd lied to me, and what I was supposed to do now. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was pretty clear. That wasn't just some innocent flirtation, it was a full-blown affair. I decided I needed to get more proof. I started by checking her phone again, her email, her social media, anything I could find. At first, she was very careful. She'd hide her phone if I came near, but I noticed little cracks in her armor. She'd leave her phone lying around sometimes, and I'd see little text snippets or some new app she'd downloaded. It was obvious she was trying to hide something, but she was also slipping up. One afternoon, I followed her out to the grocery store. She took her phone with her, seemed distracted, texting while she was walking. I kept my distance but made sure I saw her picking up her phone, then stopping by a coffee shop. She went inside and I waited outside. That's when I saw her meet up with Jake. They hugged briefly, just a quick, intimate hug, and then she kissed him on the cheek. I froze there, watching from a distance. It was real. It wasn't just some flirtation on her phone, she was physically with him. That moment was a huge blow. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized I'd been blind. Or maybe just in denial. I had no idea how long this had been going on, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. When she came back with the groceries, she acted like nothing was wrong. She was bitchy, dismissive, and snapped at me for asking where she'd been. I kept my cool, but inside I was boiling. I knew I had to confront her, but wasn't sure how to do it yet. Later that night, I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't keep living in this fog of lies. I sat her down after she was drunk enough to be a little more honest, and I asked her outright if she was cheating on me. Her response, classic Emily. She rolled her eyes, called me paranoid, said I was overthinking, and then threw in a line about how she was just having fun and that I was way too jealous. Yeah, that's what she said, just having fun. I could see her trying to brush it off, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I knew the truth, that I'd seen her meet up with Jake, and that I wasn't going to be played for a fool. Her reaction blew me away. She turned into this bitchy, dismissive version of herself. She called me crazy, said I was losing it, and basically told me I was imagining things. She was defensive, angry, and kept accusing me of snooping. I felt my blood boil. I was furious, absolutely furious, and I was also heartbroken. How could she do this? How could someone I loved so much lie so blatantly? I started to shake, feeling this overwhelming mixture of betrayal, anger, and sadness. I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let her get away with it no matter what. I had to decide what to do now. That night, sleep was impossible. My mind kept racing over everything I'd uncovered. The way Emily dismissed it all, calling me crazy, denying with that bitchy attitude that she was just having fun. But I saw her with Jake, I saw her kiss him, I heard her lie. How long had this been going on? Weeks. Months? I couldn't tell anymore, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that she'd lied to my face for so long, used me, and I'd been blind to it all. The worst part was the sense of betrayal. Not just because she cheated, but because she lied so effortlessly, so convincingly. That bitchy smirk she'd throw at me when I questioned her, like I was just some paranoid fool. I could feel my blood boiling every time I thought about her dismissing me, acting like I was overreacting. She was so good at playing the victim, turning everything around on me, making me question my own judgment. But I knew the truth now, and I wasn't going to forget it. I decided I had to act, but carefully. I couldn't let her know I was onto her yet. I started planning my next moves. I needed more evidence, but I also needed a way to confront her that would hit her hard. I wanted her to see she couldn't lie her way out of this. I also knew I had to keep my cool, or I risked losing control and doing something I'd regret later. Over the next few days, I monitored her. I saw her texting Jake constantly, not just flirtatiously, but with plans to meet up again. She was lying about where she was going, saying she was working late or meeting with friends, but I knew better. I'd even followed her once when she left the house, trailing her to some hotel parking lot. She was in there with him. That was it. I was done pretending I didn't see everything clearly now. I couldn't take it anymore. The day I decided to confront her, I was a wreck. My stomach was churning, my hands trembling. I wanted to scream, to yell, to break something, but I knew I had to keep my composure. I waited until she came home late from her supposed girls' night out, and I was sitting in the living room waiting. She walked in, all bitchy, with that smug look on her face, probably thinking I was clueless still. I looked right at her and said, "We need to talk." Her eyes narrowed and she cocked her head, smirking like she already knew what was coming. I took a deep breath, then dropped the bombshell. I knew about Jake, about everything. Her face flickered. It was a brief flash of shock, then that bitchy, defensive attitude returned. She denied it, of course. Said I was crazy, that I was just jealous, that I had no proof. I pulled out my phone, showed her the messages, the photos I'd taken of her meeting with him in the parking lot. Her face went pale for a moment, then she turned angry, snapping at me, saying I was stalking her, that I was obsessing over nothing. That was the moment I realized she was trying to gaslight me, make me doubt everything I saw with my own eyes. But I was done playing her game. I told her I wanted her out. I couldn't be with someone I couldn't trust. She got even bitchier, calling me names, screaming at me about how I was ruining her life, how I was crazy and possessive. But I didn't back down. I told her I knew she'd been lying and I wanted her gone. That's when she stormed out, yelling that I was overreacting, that I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat on me with Jake. But I knew the truth now, and nothing she said could change that. The betrayal was just too deep. The aftermath of that night was a blur. Emily left in a furious storm of curses and tears, slamming the door behind her. I sat there on the couch, feeling hollow and numb all at once. The house suddenly seemed too quiet, too empty without her bitchy remarks or her sneaky little smiles. I didn't sleep that night either. I kept replaying everything, trying to convince myself that I had done the right thing, but inside I was shattered. The next day, I started packing her things. I didn't want her to think she could just come and go as she pleased anymore. As I packed, I kept thinking about all the lies, the sneaking around, the fake smile she put on. How long had she been cheating? Was she ever truly mine? I felt a wave of anger but also deep sadness. I loved her once, and I honestly thought she was the one. Now I was left with nothing but a bitter taste in my mouth and a sense that I'd been played for a fool. I also started reaching out to my close friends, people I trusted, to tell them what I'd found out. I needed someone to talk to help me figure out what to do next. They were furious for me, especially when I showed them the messages, the photos. They told me I deserved better, that I shouldn't let her get away with it. Still, I kept feeling this gnawing emptiness. I kept wondering if I should fight for her, try to fix this, or just cut my losses and walk away. Honestly, I was torn. Part of me wanted to believe she'd come crawling back and beg for forgiveness, but I knew better. That night I sat alone in the house, staring at the empty space where she used to be. I felt so angry, so betrayed, but also so exhausted. I kept thinking about all the times she'd lied to me, how she'd accused me of being paranoid when I knew the truth now. It was a punch to the gut every time I remembered her bitchy tone, her dismissive attitude, like I was just some inconvenience. I realized I'd been a fool for so long to trust her. She was a master manipulator, and I'd been her target all along. I made a decision that night. I wasn't going to chase after her or beg her to stay. I deserved better than that. I knew I needed time to heal, to figure out what I really wanted, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going to stay in a relationship where I was constantly doubting, constantly betrayed. I promised myself I'd move on no matter how much it hurt. That was the start of my real journey, learning to live with the pain, learning to trust myself again. Sometimes I feel this ache inside, a mix of anger and sadness that's hard to explain. I keep asking myself how I didn't see it all coming, how I missed the signs. But deep down, I know I'll be okay eventually. I just have to let go of her, of the lies, and focus on rebuilding my life. Even if it's hard, even if I still get moments of regret, I know I have to keep moving forward. It's the only way I'll heal. Weeks passed, and I kept trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. Honestly, some days I felt like I was just going through the motions. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible, and every time I thought I was getting over it, something would remind me of her. Her bitchy smirk, her dismissive tone, the way she lied with such ease. I started to question everything about myself, wondering if I was blind or just too in love to see the truth. But I also knew I had to accept what happened, no matter how painful. That was part of the process. One thing I did realize fairly quickly: I was angry, and that anger needed an outlet. I didn't want to be that guy who just bottled everything up, so I started working out more, hitting the gym hard. It helped burn off the rage, and honestly, it gave me some clarity. I also threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the thoughts that kept creeping back. But even with all that, I couldn't shake the feeling of being used, of being played for a fool. That ache of betrayal was still there, lurking in the background, reminding me how much I'd trusted her. One day, I decided I had to confront Jake. I wanted to hear it from him, face to face. Not to yell or fight, but just to get closure. So I found his number and sent a simple message: "We need to talk." His reply was hesitant, but he agreed to meet. I chose a quiet coffee shop, not too crowded, so I could speak openly. When he showed up, he looked uncomfortable, probably knowing what I was about to say. I didn't waste time beating around the bush. I told him that I knew about him and Emily, that I saw them together, and that I felt betrayed, just as much as I felt betrayed by Emily herself. Jake tried to lie, of course. Said it was nothing serious, that she was just a distraction, that she'd told him she was leaving me. I looked him right in the eyes and told him he wasn't innocent either, that he'd betrayed his friendship and my trust. I told him I didn't want to hear any more lies, that I just wanted him to understand how much he screwed up. He looked guilty, and I could see the shame in his eyes. I told him I wasn't going to ruin his life, but I wanted him to stay away from Emily, and that if I ever saw him again messing around with her, I'd make sure he regretted it. After that, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Confronting him didn't fix everything, but it made me feel like I was taking back some control. I was finally facing the truth head-on, no more hiding or pretending. That was a start. Still, I knew I couldn't undo what had happened. I'd lost someone I loved, someone I thought was my future. The betrayal haunted me, but I also learned something valuable. I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who wouldn't lie to my face. So I began to rebuild my life slowly but surely. I started trusting myself again. I realized I couldn't force someone to love me or stay faithful, but I could choose to walk away from toxic lies and betrayal. That was the big lesson I took from all of this. I may never fully forget what she did, but I now understand my worth more clearly. And even though it's hard to see now, I believe I'll come out of this stronger. I have to. Because staying in that dark space of anger and sadness isn't living. It's just surviving. And I want more than that. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole experience changed me. I used to be someone who trusted easily, believed love was unconditional, and thought I'd found my forever. But now I see things differently. Trust is fragile and people can hide their true selves behind pretty smiles and sweet words. Emily was good at that. She was manipulative, bitchy, and a liar. And I let her get away with it for too long because I was blinded by love. But losing her, losing that sense of security I thought I had, taught me a lot about boundaries, about self-respect. Mostly about not ignoring the red flags just because you're afraid of being alone or because you think you're lucky to have someone. I learned that sometimes love isn't enough. That if someone cheats and lies repeatedly, they don't value you like you deserve. And no matter how much it hurts, walking away is the best thing you can do for yourself. I've started to rebuild from scratch. I focus on myself now, on what makes me happy, on what I want for my future. I don't hold on to the anger the way I used to. Instead, I channel it into making myself better, more resilient, more aware. I know I'll meet someone again someday who respects me, who's honest and loyal, because I now know what I won't accept anymore. This whole ordeal was brutal, but it made me realize my worth. I don't regret what happened, because it pushed me to grow. It showed me that I deserve someone who truly cares, someone who isn't going to lie or cheat behind my back. And I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar learns to trust their gut, to see the signs early, and not to stay in a toxic situation out of fear or hope that it will get better. Because at the end of the day, you can't make someone love you or stay faithful. The only thing you can control is how you respond. And right now, I choose to heal, to move forward, and to never let someone's betrayal define me. I'll keep living, keep trusting myself, and keep believing that better days are ahead.